Good morning, year six. I hope you're well and have had a good day so far. Today, in our English lesson, we're going to continue our work looking at poetry from World War One, and we're going to be thinking about some poems which are grouped together. These 5 poems called the War Sonnets. We're going to read 2 of them today, and we're going to think about the skill which is utilised within them of rhyming. To be successful today, we need to read Peace and Safety. So these 2 poems by the poet we're looking at. We need to consider what messages our poet desired to deliver. What message was he trying to create? We're going to think about the use of different devices, and we're going to then think about what a rhyming couplet is specifically, and we're going to try and practice using rhyming couplets and other devices. Okay. So we're going to think then today about these poems, which were written, as I say, I think by Rupert Brooke. So first of all, though, we're going to think about these. Which poet is which of these things true for? Okay, so for Wilfred Owen, for Rupert Brooke, and for Sigrid Sassoon. So from your knowledge of our poems, our poets, which is true of Wilfred Owen? Was he born in Shrewsbury? Does he have a square named after him in Skyros where he died? Did he write trench duty? Was he awarded the Military Cross? Did he live until 1967? And was he friends with Wilfred Owen? So think about 2 of these facts for each of these poems or poets, or maybe more than 2 for one of them. Okay. Just think about which one goes with each one. See if you can make a quick note. Today we're thinking about the poetry of Rupert Brooke, as we've said. So does that help you? Let's see. Okay, let's see then. For Wilfred Owen then, he was born in Shrewsbury and he was awarded the Military Cross. So both of those things are about Wilfred Owen. For Rupert Brooke, the poet we're looking at today, he did not write trench duty, but Sigrid Sassoon did. And Sigrid Sassoon, who died in 1960, Sigrid Sassoon was friends with Wilfred Owen. Rupert Brooke, named after him in Skyros, is a square because that's where he died. And Sigrid Sassoon, I nearly said it too early there, guys. He lived until 1967. He's unusual amongst our war poets that we've looked at because he actually survived until many years after World War One. Okay. Now, a word that appears in our poems today is the word honour. Okay, it's an important word to understand what it means and what we think about it as. So honour is the idea of holding something in high respect, thinking of it as something important, so treating it with great esteem. Honor or honos is a Latin word, and it meant really to treat something as really important. Okay, so it's how you respect something, how you treat something. Okay. And when we honour something, we show it respect. So you can see the soldier here is showing respect to people. And a sign of respect, a sign of honour, is to show somebody respect with a salute, which is what he's showing. Synonyms then, words which mean similar things, something such as prestige. And honour is the antonym of honour would be dishonour or shame. Okay. It is my great honour to be your teacher, and it is for me. It's a great honour to be your teacher because you're such a wonderful group of people, and it's therefore an honour for me to be your teacher, and I try and show you respect with how I act towards you. Okay. Now, this is the first of Rupert Brooke's poems that we're going to look at today. We're going to look at 2 of them today and 3 of them tomorrow. Now, God be thanked. This is called Peace. Now, God be thanked who has matched us with his hour and caught our youth and wakened us from sleeping. With hand made sure, clear iron, sharpened power to turn as swimmers into cleaning in leaping. Glad from a world grown old and cold and weary. Leave the sick hearts that honour could not move, and half mend their dirty songs and dreary, and all the little emptiness of love. Oh, we who have known shame, we have found release there, where there's no ill, no grief, but sleeping has mended, naught broken save this body lost and breath. Nothing to shake the laughing heart's long peace there, but only agony, and that has ended. And the worst friend and enemy is but death. Again, this quite strong message of kind of like sadness and this feeling around the poem. When I'm reading it, I'm thinking, now, God be thanked. Well, somebody must be desperate for peace to occur for them to be saying, God be thanked, because it's showing how desperate. But it's also talking about how unhappy times have been. The worst friend and enemy is but death. So death is something that's really, really affected people who are thinking at this time. The death from war. If you remember those 1 million people who died in the Battle of the Somme in 5 months. Glad from a world grown old and cold and weary, leave the sick hearts that honour could not move. So these sick people who've died despite the honour that they were treated with and that they treated with. Half men and their dirty songs and dreary and all the emptiness of love. So there's a lot of sadness, a lot of anger in the poem again. Sorry that the words around sonnet have been written twice there, but basically we can tell this is a sonnet because it's got what's called an octet and then a sextet where it's 14 lines. Okay, so we can see it's an octet and a sextet. Okay, and we can also see that there's personification. Okay, we can see um, that the worst friend and enemy is death at the end of the poem. Now, death is not actually a character, it's not a person, but it's treated as a person. We can see in terms of how it's written about. So, the worst friend and enemy, these are the characteristics of a person, normally being a friend or an enemy. But also, the fact that death is capitalized shows us that death is being personified. So, remember that figurative language which we looked at earlier in the work. Similarly, there within the writing here, to turn as swimmers into cleanness leaping compares the soldiers with swimmers. Okay, so here the soldiers are being treated like swimmers, and that's creating the idea that the war is cleaning them. To turn as swimmers into cleanness leaping. Okay, so they're jumping into clean water. The soldiers are going into the war to clean themselves. Okay, and remember that repetition of the vowel sound for assonance. Hand, made, sure, clear, eye, and sharpened, power. Okay, the repetition. Okay, the men are supposed to be born to fight and defend their country, and those different skills are being used there. So the structure is the sonnet, the 14 lines, and the skills of personification, simile, and assonance are used within the poem. We're going to look more at the structure of it later on, but right now just remember that those skills: personification, simile, and assonance. Safety is the second of the two poems that we're looking at today. Here, of all happy in the hour most blessed, he who has found us hid security, assured in the dark tides of the world that rest, and heard our word. Who is so safe as we? We have found safety with all things undying, the winds and morning, tears of men and mirth, the deep night and birds singing, and clouds flying, and sleep and freedom and the autumnal earth. We have built a house that is not for time's throne. We have gained a peace unshaken by pain forever. War knows no power. Safe shall be my going, secretly armed against all death's endeavour. Safe though all safety's lost, safe where men fall, and if these poor limbs die, safest of all. In the second one, I feel like we can hear the rhythm, the poet skill. But what I'd like you to do is look at this poem, think about the skills that you've identified within the poem. Okay. Have you identified any more examples of personification? Have you seen within this any more examples of simile or assonance? Have you seen the structure? Pause the video while you try and do that and try and annotate this one. So the copy of safety is in your pack today. Can you make notes on it? Once you've done that, and in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we're going to carry on. Once you've done that, I'd like you to think about these skill of rhyming. So within this piece of reading, I'd like you to see, as you read it through, if you can notice the shush sound, that's the suffix at the end of these words. So the weather was atrocious. Atrocious. Mr. Spring's struggling to say it now, but atrocious. Can you see within this whole passage and highlight any other iterations of the shush sound to spot those rhymes? Where we get tuned in through listening and through reading to the idea of a rhyme, it'll help us as poets to create rhyming couplets. Because that's the skill we're looking at today. We're thinking within this word map, what words can we think of to rhyme with some of the key language points? So if I think of First World War, I then think of what words could rhyme with war that would be relevant. Okay, I'm thinking 2 or 3 that I can make from there. War, I remember that war where machine guns and other weaponry was used first. So about 15 years before World War One. Score. Can I also think of corps? And that means a group of soldiers, a corps of soldiers. Okay. So I'm thinking of some different words. And what I'd like you to do is to annotate this word map with words which rhyme with those key points of language. And that'll then help you when you try and use them for rhyming couplets. So when I was trying to think of some, the way that I did it was I thought of a first rhyme and then I built up on it. So remember having fought the Boers, because that was the nature of the Boer War. Some settlers originally from Holland, who now were in charge of southern Africa, were fighting a war against English settlers in southern Africa. And this happened about 14 years before World War One, so around 1900, just as Victoria was about to die. Remember having fought the Boers, I relied on support from friends in the corps. Core is a word which rhymes with bore. Okay, bore and core rhyme, but they both have a meaning here. You can't just pick random words out. You can't go tor, law, for, door. Oh, you've got to try and think about words which might link to this poem. Then relied on. Can I improve that language? Can I make better language? I relied on. I leaned on. Leaned on shows that it's almost an element of figurative language where you're leaning on somebody. Relied on tells me what you're doing, but if you're actually saying you leaned on, you're metaphorically saying that you had to have them there, otherwise you'd fall over. Holding on to images of having fought the war. Okay, so rather than remembering, I'm changing that verb to, again, a metaphor, holding on to images. I don't really walk around with pictures of me in a war. What I'm doing is I'm remembering. So sometimes to remember, you hold on to pictures of something from the past. So now I've got holding on to images of having fought the Boers. I leaned on support from friends in the corps. Gradually, the lice walked by. Now, can I use some onomatopoeia here? Yes, I can. So scratching, gnawing, that scratching sound, that gnawing sound, because I know those lice that reside with me in my trench are there now. Scratching, gnawing, the lice walk by. What could I rhyme with by? Now that's what I've got to think about as my next line. But so far I've got 3 lines. How many lines should I have for a sonnet? 14. So in total I'm trying to go for 14. Are you going to go for 14? It'd be great if you do. Thinking about the war language that you've got. So today, then, you're going to think back to earlier on in this lesson. You're going to be thinking about 3 key elements. You're going to annotate safety. You're going to look at this piece of writing, that's the second of the 5 war sonnets by Rupert Brooke. Once you've annotated safety and thought about which skills he's used, which similes, which assonants, which examples of alliteration, where there's rhymes, what other skills he's used? Has he used simile? Has he used metaphor? Once you've used that, you're going to then identify all those shush sounds in this text. Just highlight them. Just highlight them. Pen. You don't need to write this out. Then, on your map of the First World War language, try and think of some rhyming words with words like war. Can you think of words which rhyme with Somme, trenches, lice, rats, truce, rations, Owen? Once you've made some rhymes with those words, then you're going to try and build your own rhyming couplet. It doesn't necessarily need to be at this point a whole 14-line sonnet. If you can get, so you're building on with those improved verb choices which use metaphor, with those improved language choices which use onomatopoeia, so the sound of the snatch, scratching, and the gnawing. So scratching, gnawing, the lice walking by. If you get to the stage where you're using those skills, then just a few examples of rhyming couplets is the skill we're going for. If you want to stretch yourself and do a 14-line sonnet, be like one of those great poets of the time. Try and do that. I look forward to seeing those year 6. Thank you very much for your attention today. See you soon. Bye bye.